When I look back in my life, I wanted to be very proud that I did Daastan. That has empowered thousands of people to actually like found a hope that there is someone out there whom they can turn into when they have an idea and they can publish their work and they can actually make a living out of it. Because when you really want to do something, like I see this every day here in Pakistan, there are so many people, the talented people, they want to do something in their lives, they want to earn a living through right channels, but unfortunately those channels are not here, the opportunities are not here, and the industry is not that much mature that they could absorb that workforce. And it's really hard to see really talented people working and doing menial jobs just to pay their home bills. So I had this thing that when I'm looking back at my life, I need to be sure that the thing that I founded has actually changed lives of such people.
Hello everyone, my name is Din Long and welcome to the podcast Lifeline. In this podcast, I will interview people who are having a positive impact in their community and have a strong message that deserves to be shared. We will dive deeper into their journey becoming a change maker, and hopefully you can take away some insights for your own journey. And please do subscribe to Lifeline on YouTube, Apple Podcast or any platform that you are using. And also you can share this episode with your friends if you like it. It's really what helps me the most. In today's episode, you will be meeting Omer, a storyteller, community builder, and visionary from Pakistan who co-founded Daastan with a mission to put a book in every hands. Daastan is an online publishing platform for aspiring writers in Pakistan, and they already supported thousands of authors to get published. But to arrive there, it took many years, and Omer had to restart from scratch a few times, overcome an endless list of struggles, but he made it work in the end. This episode is really a masterclass on entrepreneurship, and we go through all the challenges and joy of his entrepreneurial journey, and we highlight important tips for all aspiring entrepreneurs that Omer learned the very hard way. He pays a tribute to all the people who made a difference in his life. He shares funny anecdotes and stories as they come to his mind, and he invites us all to visit this one-of-a-kind country that is Pakistan. Alright, so hello Omer, nice to have you. So can you just quickly say what time it is now in Pakistan?
It is almost 1 a.m. at night.
So that's my first... so it's 10 p.m. in France, so that's I think the latest interview I've ever done. And for everyone in 5, I didn't force Omer to do an interview at 1 a.m. So I tried to, But he's a busy guy, very busy businessman, so that was the only slot available. Thank you, Omer. I'm really happy to have you on Lifeline today. And for the story, you are the first guest from Pakistan in this podcast. And you are also, I think, the first person from Pakistan I ever talked to in my life. I remember when we met in Hanoi in 2019.
April 2019.
Yes, you were the first Pakistani guy I met, so I was so excited. I met you and the other delegates from Pakistan, but you're mainly the first one I had a real conversation with. And since then we've met a couple of times in different countries. We've met in China, in Thailand, in Vietnam, and hope to meet you in Pakistan one day. And I really love your story. I really love how you are this Pakistani ambassador. You gave me a scarf from Pakistan, so I really like this aspect of you try to, show to people what is Pakistan. And today I wanted to share your story, your wisdom to as many people as possible. So I stopped speaking. I spoke a lot, but I'll just ask you the first question, which is, if you can introduce yourself, where you come from, and what you are currently doing.
Sure. Thank you so much, Din Long, for this particular opportunity. I still remember I was really excited to meet you in Vietnam because we had been in touch, I think, previously online, just speaking and texting and emailing, but like actually seeing you for the first ever time and like sharing our opinion, that was like a really good conversation, and I still remember all of it. Uh, a little bit about me for those who do not know. My name is Syed Ommer Amer. I'm founder of the platform called Daastan. It's basically a book publishing platform which empowers authors to monetize their time, content, and skills using technology. The main vision that we are chasing is like we want to put a book in every hand. And I know it's quite audacious, but like that's the kind of dream and that's the thing that really drives us forward every day. And what makes us really special is that it's not just another publishing platform. It's more like a community and a family, or maybe you can just think of it like it's more of a cause to which everyone is really excited about. I still remember it clearly. I started this platform back around 6 years back. It was December 2014, and I kickstarted it from one of the Pakistan's biggest technology incubation center called Plan 9. That's where the journey started. And then over time, I joined many accelerators and incubators like Telenor Velocity, Accountability Lab Pakistan, National Incubation Center. All these institutes actually helps me learn new skills and find out ways how I can improve and impact a lot of lives. Like most of the people say that, why are you even doing this? Like generally in business, you always go for a business that is a very big and huge addressable market. But when we like look at the kind of work that I am doing, it's not directly relevant to education, but you can say it's more impact. It's impacting more to the creative community and the literary community. So that's like a niche of education. That's the literature, and it's all about book publishing. So generally, in this particular world, people are like, "Oh, who reads book? Everyone read online. There's no much scope." So what we are doing here is like really powerful. Like it's really hard to explain, but like I'll still give it a shot, and I hope that you kind of understand the why behind why I am doing this. So I have seen, like I personally believe that all the society, the way they act, the way they think, the way they behave, the core foundation or the reason of any one behavior is linked to the content that they consume every day. And that's like a very scary thing. Like people's brain are like, you can say, white, blank whiteboards. So you can paint anything on that. So if you are constantly feeding them wrong content or wrong narratives, it will ultimately in reflect in their society, in their characters. So I thought that if I want to change the world, if I want to create a social impact, if I want to be relevant person, someone who is like known in history for doing something worthwhile while he was here, while he was alive. So I need to change this thing, that I need to create good content. And when you look around, and especially in Pakistan, the situation of writers, especially the content creators, when I started this thing, it was like worse than ever you can imagine. There was no publisher in Pakistan who would actually publish a new author's work. The whole industry is offline. Everything is broken. You really never don't know anything at all. That where to go, where to start, whom to talk to, what are the government organizations, what are the rules, what are the regulations. Nothing at all. Everything was like so messed up, and it was really hard. So what we did differently was that I thought, why not build a platform that takes this entire offline industry online, more like a writing marketplace, but like empowering the authors here in Pakistan and also abroad. Like it would act as a bridge or a gateway that would connect global authors to use this platform to make their work available in Pakistan and the Pakistani market. Similarly, the authors in Pakistan could make their work available in other countries. So that was the whole concept. Like, if you look around in the history, the subcontinent region, especially where Pakistan is right now, it was renowned for being the seat of knowledge. It was once a land of thinkers and philosophers, but unfortunately, due to the recent events and the terrorist activities and all the political instabilities in the region, unfortunately, my country has been like negatively portrayed as the land of terrorists in the international media, and this is something that really hurts me because there are so many people like me doing such amazing and wonderful work here in Pakistan, but there's no one out there to tell their stories to the world. And I'm really thankful to Ding Dong for providing me this particular platform to tell our story, our part of story to the world. And I hope that whosoever is listening right now, they can truly relate to the struggles that we face while here, while living in Pakistan. Because, it's really heartbreaking that despite of all the things that you do, someone who is not from your country is passing out certain remarks about your country, which are not even true. So that was the thing that really pinched me to actually take action. My whole family is from the literary background. Like I remember that my mother used to tell me that our great grandfather Muhammad Basir, he was the one who invented Urdu calligraphy script here in subcontinent somewhere in 1900s. And since then, everyone in my family is like one way or another related to education background, like as teachers, professors, writers, authors, and all those things. So I think that's like where my story started. I still remember it very clearly that my mother used to take me, especially my parents. They would every Friday they would take me to this library. We come from a very humble family background. Yeah, no lavish cars and nothing at all. Really simple people. So I still remember I got access to computer when I was in eighth grade, and I accessed internet when I was like after completing my 12th grade. So since then, like when you don't have computers or internet, so I was brought up in that era, and all I had for myself was just these books, and that was all. So I think that was one of the reason I chose to come on this field, and another reason was probably I would say a contribution to my schools and my teachers, and especially my parents, who actually encouraged me to write creatively, speak, and create original content. They were like the main force that was helping me or driving me to actually do something. Uh, and another thing that I would like to add was like one of the major, what you may say, a factor where my life was turned in a very different direction was when I read the works of our national poet Muhammad Iqbal. His poetry is like something really, really powerful. And I was fortunate enough that I discovered it when I was in my like early teens, yeah, somewhere around like 14, 15, or 16 years of age. So that was the kind of age when I discovered that poetry, and it was so inspirational. It pushed me to take action. Like one of the symbolic characters that Iqbal used in his poetry was that he used to address the youth of the country as Shaheens. So Shaheen is like a very uh, a bird which is always looking ahead, going forward, and it has very high ambitions. So that was the thing that kind of inspired me, and I think that these are some of the factors that turned me into who I am today. So yeah.
Thank you so much for this super inspiring introduction. Uh, okay, so I want to ask you like 100 questions now. So
Sure, sure.
I'm not sure what is so many things. But okay, yeah. So I think yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, one question I wanted to ask you, and you addressed it a bit, because you said you. So I read on your LinkedIn resume that there is a sentence which is, I was raised in a time where I had no proper access to internet till 10th grade. The only thing I could do was either books or sports. So I just wonder what happened to the sports part.
Yeah, so sports part, I was like a really crazy fanatic about sports. So I started like one thing about me is that I'm like kind of an addict kind of person. So once I am doing something, then I am like all in. Like there is no turning back unless or until you reach that extreme. So I'm that kind of fanatic. So I still remember I started sports. My first sport that I was really, really into was cricket. I played it like hell till my 10th grade. And unfortunately, like I was the kind of die-hard fan who would actually watch every single live match of the Pakistani team, no matter either they're playing Test cricket, either they're playing one day T20s, whatever format of cricket was there. I used to memorize the name of players, captains, matches, events scored, bowlers, and everything. Like one die-hard fan. But then uh, there was this one World Cup. I was like really praying that my country would actually win, but the team actually threw the match, and later it was revealed that they were doing like what is called some match fixing or stuff. Some players were involved. That was the point when I actually lost faith in the cricket. So then a little bit ahead, when I was in my college, then I was the pioneer from my school who actually went to that college, because I was a graduate of a private school and it was relatively a newer one. Like I was one of the pioneer batch of that school. So I had no seniors or no support or anything at all when I went to a different institute. Usually it happens that, let's say you are an alumnus of XYZ institute, and then that institute has been there for like past 30, 40 years. So obviously when you will move to a university or some other higher campus, so there is a very high chance that you will meet graduates who are already studying there and who were a part of alumnus of your institute. But in my case, it was totally opposite. I was the one who was actually discovering new environments and new things, and it was really hard for me to like adjust in there. So when I went into college, I had like literally no friends, but I made a couple of them, like I think three, four friends. So some of them, then as you know, that it was an all boys college, and interestingly, it was the government college. And one funny memory that I have, and that was the most coolest thing, or I don't know, it's the dumbest thing that I ever did, was that it was the third day of my college, and I was like, just what you may say, just speaking or joking around with my friends. And then there's this one professor that came in, and he was like one grumpy professor, and he, like, you know, the kind of professors that try to intimidate you by speaking in a loud tone and a harsh tone. So usually the boys usually behave. So I was like raised in a private school where teachers would address you such with such politeness, and then actually encountering someone so grumpy who is like all bossy and all that, and even though you are not at fault and he's constantly screaming and yelling at you, I was like really, really annoyed. And then I went into argument with him, and then he expelled me out of the class. And then he made me stand out of class for like I think the whole week. That was like really, really interesting moment for me. But that was when I got really popular in my class. That this is that guy who messes around with the teacher. So then I got in radar of this gang who actually used to play football. So I had no prior experience, and I usually suck at football. But then in college, since that was the only game those guys played, so I started playing football, and I played football like hell. Like, an interesting thing was that they gave me a nickname. So they named me Samri. Samri means like a magician, or like an evil magician, to be very precise. So they used to call me that, and I was really, really popular among the college, because you know, the kind of the wanted list in the college where every teacher and every professor is like, these are these 10, 20 boys you need to be very aware of. These are like so much problematic boys. Like it was really interesting, like kind of fun. We didn't disturb the class discipline, but you know, the kind of naughty boys just messing around, kind of annoying teachers a little bit off and on, but not in a like disrespectful way, but just in a fun humor way. So, and then I started playing football. I played it for like 2 years, and then university happened. But when I left the college, I was like known as a very aggressive player. That who, if I am in their team, then the opposition had a very hard time scoring goals, because I would run so much. You wouldn't believe, like everyone knew that this guy stamina never runs out. So I used to be that kind of player. But then I improved a lot. I made some really good friends. Some of us still meet now, off and on. But then when I came in university, again, I would come from a college where we had no kind of graduates or alumnus in the institute. So I went to a college in a university in a different city. It was Taxila. My education institute was University of Engineering and Technology, Taxila. And there, it was all new for me because that was the kind of institute where people from all over Pakistan would come to study. And it was really hard for me to like kind of bond with them and find out who is playing what, who is interested in what. So then I kind of like switched off from gaming and I focused more on the soft skills and the presentation kind of side. So I joined all the literary societies, declamation, arts, dramatics, these kind of societies because that was a really fascinating thing for me and I joined that. I also played a little bit e-games in the university. I went to the semifinals of one particular tournament as well. I also won one in the university as well. But that was like the kind of gaming I had. After that, then everything died out. All the friends went away, and after university, I started this startup. So then the life got busy, and then I no longer play sports now. I just watch them off and on, but very limited. Nowadays, all everything that I have on my mind is work, work, and just work. So that's the sport thing.
All right. So yeah. So this brings me to another question, which is so. Did you? Because you told me you grew up in this very education, creative, familial culture, and did you still? Because I know that you launched Daastan, you were speaking about all the issues that writers face, but you launched it because you actually it was to solve your own problem because you actually wrote a novel and you wanted to get published, but it was impossible. I wonder, was it during this football period, or was it during when you started to do like all these literacy events at university?
Yeah, so that thing came in because in the university it was like a 4 year program. So in the first year of the university, I joined every society that I could, where I could like get an audition and make sure that I'm good enough, and then I got enlisted in that. But after an year, I was kind of bored. It wasn't like my kind of thing, so I wanted something more. So I joined the youth volunteering platforms, NGOs, and all these kind of things. That was a little bit outside university. So like I raised the performance bar a little bit for higher for me. So when I joined those things, that was where I got this idea, or you can say training. Like I had my mentor who went to cultural exchange program. He was my senior in my university. He taught me a lot about like how social entrepreneurship work, how you build an idea, how you pitch it, how you make documents, how to write. Like basically, I was the operations manager of his NGO. So I kind of went through all hands-on approach on everything related to this startup thingy. But I never had like a very formal training. It was this one program called NUS Discover Business Plan Competition where I went in for a 3 day, I think it was a 3 day or a 2 day program. So the first 2 days or 3 days, they actually walked us through whole day session where they taught us how to make presentations to pitch, what is pitching, how this whole thing works, the entire framework, team building, and everything, like a crash course of startups. It was the eye opener for me. That was, you can say, the aha moment when I thought that this is really possible and it can be done. Because before that, I used to think that this is something impossible and only some people can do it, no one else can do it. Because there was no major thing was that there was no information available out there. So this Daastan part came in when I was in university's third year. I was about to close my third year and go into the final year. That's when I started writing my novel. When I met a friend who was writing his own book, which he never got published, but I got mine published. So still, when we meet, I used to joke about him, joke to him that, hey man, you still didn't publish your book, and I have actually founded a whole publishing company, and we have published so many things. I think this is now the time that you should give your book to me, and probably I can publish it for you. So that was that kind of period. And in the university's final year, it was like, I think so, 4 or 5 months when I was already done with my novel, and I was pitching to various organizations and publishing platforms to see if they can like kind of pick this work up and publish it. But like I couldn't find a favorable response. And I was also doing an internship by then. It was like a content or operations manager kind of thingy. We were launching a new brand called Total Football. It was really cool. The platform is still here. I'm like really proud to be one of the founding team members of that platform. So I was doing an internship there. So I had some money saved from there. Then this Plan 9, the incubation thingy came up. We got selected. It was a knockout round. Out of 1,500 applicants, we were one of the top 15 teams that were chosen to go to this program of Plan 9. That's where the journey of Daastan started. So that was the whole period where I actually like made this thing happen.
Super interesting. So, because back then you were in an internship, you were studying engineering, you were writing a novel, and yeah, like what? How? So, when did you decide to apply to this incubator? Did you apply by yourself? Were you afraid of what if I don't know? What if I don't manage to I don't know to succeed?
Yeah, this is like a really interesting story. So what happened was that I was, you can say, just normally casually streaming this Facebook, and there I came across this one video. It was a video on entrepreneurship by a scientist called Dr. Omar Amer. So he was the chairman of Pakistan Information Technology Board back then. So this interview was done by a magazine, probably some CEO kind of magazine where these people give interview to. So I listened to that talk. That talk inspired me. So what I did was that I went into YouTube and I found all the videos that this guy has done. So I found out that this guy has done a TED talk as well. And then he recently launched this incubation center called Plan 9 because he was the head of there. So he launched this thing. And then I came across another video that was by the program manager, Mr. Nabil Qureshi. So I went into his TED talk as well. And that was when it came into me that, I need to go there. These guys have done something really, really legendary for our community. And I think this might be my chance to actually validate and see if I can get through. Because I remember the Plan 9 started when I was in, I think so, third year. And a friend of mine came to me, that guy, hey, man, I think we need to apply to this thing. This is something. And I was like, nah, not right now. I'm not in a mood. This is something new, probably just would be a fashion or something. It will just fade off. These kind of government gimmicks, they just do it for some press kind of thingy, and then this whole thing dies out. This ain't gonna work. So I joined Plan 9 in the fourth cohort. I think so it was third or fourth cohort. So that was like after a year has already passed. So then when I was applying, that was the point I realized, no, these guys have actually stayed and they are doing some really cool work, because when I did some research, I found out a lot of success stories out of there. One of their startup raised like $100,000 on Kickstarter camping. And I was like, whoa, man, that could be a really, really huge thing that for me if I'm able to do that. So I went into that program, even though when I was like qualified for this program and I was selected and everything was done, my family was like, we are not sending you to that program, because I come from a very small town in a very remote area. It's Wakent. It's not even like an urban area. So my parents would never let me go out of home for even more than an hour or two. And I was talking about going to a different city, living there all by myself, all alone for a period of 6 months. So that was a big no from their side. They were like, we are not going to fund this thing. This is not going to happen. And you know that we can't do that. So as I mentioned earlier, that I was doing an internship. So I was like, fine, you don't need to fund me. I have my own expenses and savings. I'll fund myself. So I actually fought with my family to went there for this particular thing. And I remember that it was the third day of the incubation program, and there's this, the kind of need assessment kind of meeting where the whole board would meet each startup in the team, and then they would like kind of assess that what you are doing, and then they would like recommend what needs to be done. Because I took this decision at a point where I not only had to move out of city, but I also had to. It was my last semester, and one of my paper was what you may say, I wasn't allowed to give my final paper because I had a little bit short attendance, and they were like, no, you weren't qualifying the 70% or something like 70 80% attendance criteria, so we are not going to allow you to sit in the program. So in the final paper of the final semester, so that was like a really really big shock for me. So I had two options. One was that either I stay back at my home and apply for this this summer semester where you kind of complete your missing subjects or the subjects that you couldn't clear as an extra kind of some subject semester. And it ran for 3 months, so the university told me that you can take another 3 months and then clear this whole thing all over again. We're not going to let you sit in this exam. Or I had another option that I leave my entire 4 year degree at one side, go to this plan 9 thingy, fight with my parents, and then see if this thing is gonna work or not. And it was such a hard decision for me because the minimum requirement for them was that you need to have at least two members to come. The program manager made it very clear to me that if you come alone to our incubation center, we are gonna send you home and disqualify you that very moment. So all the team members of my team were mostly remote. Like Hafsa was in Islamabad. Another of my team member who was working with me, she was from Multan. Another one was in Rawalpindi. And I pitched to all of them that, hey guys, we have won a $6,000 grant. Let's just do this. This is our chance. This is our aha moment that we were all working and striving for. And none of them came in. So everyone had their own personal reasons, and obviously no, not all the persons can go against their family, uh, even though I went against mine and I still am. But like they were like, no, we are not going to do this. So I had to hire an entire new team there, and it was such a painful thing for me because you when you go in an incubation, you need to have someone by your side who has been through you for past a year or so, and then you both work together on that thing. But I was the only one single person working day and night, like working like hell. It really drove me crazy, and it was really stressful 6 months for me. And I still remember on the third day when it was like they were doing these need assessments, and I was sitting alone in that chair where five of my team members should have been there with me. I was sitting all alone, and the way that the whole board of Plan 9 grilled me, I literally was crying there because I knew that if these guys send me back home, then I have no future at all. And I have to get this thing done. So it's more like, burning all chips, and then you know that either you're going to do this or either you're going to die here. There is no going back. So I was at that kind of thing. I think that was the most harder decision of my life. But I guess it turned out well. So yeah, that was like my little story.
Hmm. And coming back just a bit before, how did you find your team members, like the 5 people you mentioned, to work with you?
So we did some posts on Facebook and various writing circles and groups of readers and writers. And we mentioned that we are hiring for these posts. So if you are around, so do join in. So one of the person came in through recommendations. One of our marketing manager, I knew him from Facebook. We used to engage a lot on social media. So he was from Gujranwala, and I asked him if he would like to come in and join me. So he spoke to his team. So he spoke to his family and all that. So he joined a week later. So for first 7 to 10 days, I was sitting all alone there while all the other teams around me were working day and night. And it was so hard for me. Like, every month I used to think that my team is the most bottom most team, and we would be eliminated now or next month. So that was the kind of, the fear that you are living with. Because for your team members, they might have other options, but for me as a founder, I had no other options. I had already burnt all the ships I had. I had no other cards left or no other alternatives. There was no way I could go back there. So it was really hard for me. And, I had those sleepless nights where I would just stay up whole night working till 8 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And then I would sleep and then I would just wake up again at like 9 or 10 a.m. and then start working whole day all over again. I still remember like all these people, they would used to go out on like lunch breaks and then tea breaks and all that. And I was like so much absorbed in my work that if I'm sitting here on my chair at like around 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., and then it would go whole night and I wouldn't stand or go and take breaks because I was so much stressed. And our problems grew like almost 3 to 4 folds because during this incubation side, I was facing a lot of challenges in terms of tech side because I personally know how to like do WordPress and all these things, but the platform that the incubation center wanted a custom built, custom coded website, which you actually called a proper product. They weren't accepting a WordPress enabled solution or something around those lines. So it was so hard for me to find a find a proper developer because I myself am not a developer. So it was really hard for me to find people. But fortunately, we had friends. There was a good community environment in Plan 9. So those guys, techie, there's this one guy called Puzzle. Then we have Bilal. These guys like were such a great help to me. They really helped me a lot and like finding new people, recommending me, taking interviews, and then telling me and guiding me that this resource is going good or not. Because these were the guys who I used to go to find some technical supervision and see that if my resources are working right or not. But fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. The kind of resources we got, they were like really basic. They were still learning. Like, the kind of people who would go on internship and then learn how to code and all those things. So I unfortunately got that lot. And
Mm.
they took like ages to develop a single page. And it was like such a frustrating thing. The brand launch, the time when we announced that we are launching this platform, our website link was down. I was on the stage typing my website URL and the website was down. It was like such an embarrassing moment for me. And, I had like almost 3 seconds to react. And what I did was that fortunately I had screenshots saved of the web portal. So what I did was that I opened that folder which had all the screenshots and then I played that on what do you call it, the slideshow, and people thought that this was actually the website. So that's the kind of reaction you need to solve a crisis like that. So it was really, really frustrating for me, but I learned a lot out of that experience. So one of my biggest key learning was that I was not prepared for an incubation when I went into an incubation, and I should only and for all the people out there, you should always go to an incubation when you know for sure that you have a very strong team and a strong idea and a working prototype. If you don't have any of these things, please don't go there and don't waste your 6 months of your life. It would be such a frustrating thing for you. You will regret it. But it was like altogether a very fun experience because for me, when I went into that new city, I used to say it to everyone that I feel that I belong to a village. Literally, this is a city and that has opened my eyes and opened my vision. So that was the thing that I always say, and I always say it proudly, that that city and that experience and that environment really taught me about life and the possible opportunities. Because Dinlong, when you are in your own city or in your own comfort zone, you feel that this is your whole world. But when you go out of your comfort zone into a place where you're in complete strangers and then you adopt to that particular environment, that is the point when you learn or when you have those aha moments in you where you feel like, oh my god, I had been missing so much. There is so much out there to be done, and there is so much world of possibilities out there. So that was the kind of thing that I personally experienced, and this is what I say to everyone, that if you have a chance, go and travel, go out of your comfort zone, because that's where the magic happens.
So you survived 6 months.
Yes.
So yeah, so you actually managed to launch your product during the incubation program. And yeah, then could you share a bit like how did things evolved after?
Yeah, so after when I completed that 6 months program, so I was at a point where most of my team member that I have hired had already quit me. They had some more jobs and then or kind of they had the yeah, so they had their own opportunities or something around that. They all left. So I was back at square zero where I started. So when I went back home, I was exactly at the same point where I was 6 months before. I had no team. My team was like totally lost. They didn't believe that I was like doing good enough, so they left. And I really sucked at it because that was my first ever experience of managing 5 people, and it was really hard for me because nobody taught me before that how do you do that. So I actually learned by failing at it and sucking at it at big time. So then after that, what happened was that I came back. I completed my degree. That was like a very pending thing, and my family wanted me to get over it. So I finally completed my graduation. It was again itself a very interesting story, but maybe some other time. So when I was like, I had already done that engineering thingy and like given the degree to my mother so she could showcase it the way she want. I never used it, that degree anyway. So I another interesting thing that I did was that I restarted everything all over again from zero, but with a new perspective. So I stopped relying or hiring or being dependent on things that were out of my control. So I knew that I'm really good at WordPress and I can manage things. So I used WordPress and Facebook to do all the things that I wanted to do. So I created a Facebook group. I remember there were total of 3 people there. Me, Hafsa, and another friend that she added. Her name was Nayab, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong. So we started a freelance marketing marketplace model. So we did a pilot using Facebook groups and a writer's dashboard that had all their writer earnings, projects, and all their basic details, payout requests, and all those buttons. So I was able to code that on WordPress myself. So I did it. So we ran this hybrid model, and within from a team of 3 people, we went up to a team of 70 people, and we were generating around like 50 to 60,000 words of content a day, and that was huge. That was the point when I thought that maybe this could scale. So I took a step back. I tried automated things by making team heads, but unfortunately, the moment I did that, it was the biggest mistake of my life. Everything fell apart. We had a lot of plagiarized content that went through the team leads directly to the clients, and then we lost the clients. And unfortunately, I had to shut down that whole wing within next 2 months. So that was the worst ever decision of my life that I ever did. Even though I compensated it, but I should have had enough my years for quality control to make that thing scalable. But later I realized that that model was not scalable enough. But what happened was that we saved like around 40,000 Pakistani rupees out of that whole experiment that we did. And at that particular point, this competition called the Startup Cup came into Pakistan. So I remember I got selected there, and it was day one of the workshop. And Scene Riffin, I think that was the name of the guy who was the founder of this competition. So he flew to Pakistan, and I was like speaking to him, and he was like addressing us, and he said that if your prototype is not ready by within 2 days or 3 days, while I am here, you guys are eliminated for sure. So that was the point when I said, no, I don't want to be eliminated. I want to get this thing done. So I invested all the savings that I had. That was like sheer 6 months worth of effort that I should have taken back home, but I invested all of it back to the and gave it to a developer to build me a professional MVP. And he was a friend that my cousin recommended to me. His name is Mamoon. His company is Webmasters. These are like really good guys. So they helped me a lot in tech side. Our product still is made by them. They manage it. They do it everything that we want in terms of tech. They manage it very well. So these guys, they literally built me the entire prototype in just 2 days. And in the third day, when I was pitching in the competition, I was able to make it through because I had the working MVP done, and it was really, really beautiful. And that was the point when I focused more on the publishing side, and I shut down the freelance model and all that crazy thing that we were doing, which wasn't going anywhere. So we shut it down. So that was the point when I decided that I need to focus because I am getting myself distracted in so many things in so many ways just by some just because someone is saying that I need to do it. So I start doing it without even thinking about or the big vision or why, the big why, that why I was doing this at the first place. So I still remember when I was when I got selected for the Plan 9, one of the mentor told me that, hey guy, I actually voted for you because I see passion in you. And I believe that I don't know what you will do, but ultimately, whatever you are going to do would be in the publishing industry. So just focus on that. And I didn't listen to him. And I pivoted my model when I went into Plan 9, and that's where the whole mess started. So I should have listened to him. So I remember his thing, and then what I did was that I started focusing on publishing, and that was where the platform started evolving. So initially, what we did was that we did that a stories untold. That was a really interesting model where we asked people to where we crowdsource stories from the community, and then we published the best works on the website that we recently built. So the MVP that we built, we populated it with all the stories that we generated through the competition. And that's how the basic first 50 stories were made live on the platform. And once we did that, we did some little bit of marketing campaign and it all went really well. Then people started approaching us. We would get messages from people. And one of the very first author that we had was Miss Tuba. Her novel was called Unveiling the Unknown. It was really massive novel. It had like, I think so, almost 400 pages. So I got that published through our platform, and all the cost for that no, for the publishing was raised through pre-orders. That was a huge success for us because we just launched the website, and then there comes this one author, and then we made her book live on the web portal, and all of a sudden there are like 50, 60 orders of that book, and people are willing to pay in advance. So we collected all those payments, we kept track of it, and then we invested all that money back into printing and publishing and all those things. So that was this one interesting model that we did. And by this time, we were in Telenor Velocity program. And fortunately, they gave us this platform where we could like organize a book launch in National Incubation Center Karachi. And that was the turning moment for us because our first ever book launch was done at such a prestigious place and we got like proper photography and videography and all those things done. That was the game changing moment for us. And then there was no turning back. Then I remember there was this one guy. His name is Harun. He's creator of Burka Avengers. He was one of the mentor and Telenor Velocity connected us with him, and he gave us an industry project. It was a 16 episode animated film that whose script needs to be written, and I was like given this opportunity to actually write that script. So I did this whole research, and then we went through all a lot of different variations, versions, and all those things. And finally, when the animated film got launched, it was launched massively. Like we have this biggest Pakistan television national channel, you can say, for PTV. It was launched on that platform, and it ran for like I think so 3 or 4 months straight. Every evening, the animated film would be on, and I still remember a lot of people and a lot of authors that came to our platform. They said that we saw that animated film that was running on the TV. Did you guys write the script? And we were like, yeah. So what's the big deal? So they were like, no, we're going to get published through us. Can you make our work go live on TV? So we were like, obviously, we can speak to some of the people. So that was where the buzz actually started making, like, the hype and everyone who's like doubting you at first. Now they are all like, no, these guys are like really serious. They are doing some serious, really good work. So all the people who were like doubting you and then they start believing in you. And that was like interesting moment for us. So, and I didn't stop after that. There were like a lot of, you can say, low highs and lows within that journey as well. But then we joined this plan, the National Incubation Center. That was like, again, another extreme kind of an experience for me. I met a lot of amazing people there. I still remember when I was in NIC, I was kind of doing a day job as well because, at that particular time, my idea was too nascent and we still didn't had like a proper business model kind of thingy. Like we wouldn't know how would the revenues come in. Like there's this one book, the whole revenue that comes in that goes out as cost. So whereas the profit, how are we going to sustain ourselves? So much of the team that I lost over the period of the 6 years, I lost my team like almost 3 times. And these were like really gem of a people, I would say, that I lost because of my foolishness. And the my core reason was that I wasn't able to find a business model fast enough. So there's this one there's this one person who is really passionate about your idea, and they want to work with you. They work with you. They give you like 1 or 2 or 3 months of their entire lives. And if you're not able to help them pay their bills, then unfortunately they have to move on. And that's exactly what happened with me. I had such amazing people and such amazing team, but I lost them all, and I still miss them because you have that kind of affiliation with them. But yeah, that's life. It teaches you a lot. But in NIC, what happened was that, like, again, we met really good people. I made really good connections there. There was a lot of mentorship. But that was this thing where when this SDG boot camp happened, it was in NIC. I was like about to graduate. This was the final event. And this boot camp, the interesting thing about this boot camp was that uh, just before this boot camp, I had participated in almost like 15 to 20 such events, like competitions, grants, and all those things. And I had been constantly being rejected over and over and over and over again. I remember that I had like such lame reasons and such interesting comments from the judges and all the community, because some of the competitions, they have been organized by the student bodies, and then there's this certain politics, and then they would just uh, make win someone else a winner, and it kind of hurts you. And then there are certain judges, they have a certain bias towards you, or then they have this thing that, oh no, nobody reads book, then we don't even need to listen to this idea in the first place. So I had been losing for almost like 15, 20 times throughout like 2, 3 years. And then this SDG boot camp came in, and then I went again with the same passion. Then no, I need to win this time. And luckily, I my hard work, you may say, or like I don't know, the persistence or anything. I don't know what to call it. So it worked. So finally, when I remember that when the results were being announced, and then when they called me the winner, that was like such a happy moment of my life, because that was the break. Then long. I don't know if I mentioned this before or not. Like one of the reasons I actually joined the youth, like when I was in my university, and I had the senior who just came back from this cultural exchange program. That was the point when I had this dream that I need to be the one representing Pakistan when I go out of a country. Like that was the kind of dream, and the main reason I quit the university societies and moved to the NGO sector, because I saw that I have an opportunity that maybe using this I would be able to go there. And I had that opportunity not once but twice, and I think almost 3 times. And all 3 times I was rejected, either a visa, either I didn't had enough finances, or one reason or another. But when this I won this competition, that was when I knew for sure that finally, after striving for 4 straight years, finally I have that moment with me that I would be able to go outside Pakistan and represent Pakistan, not just as a random person, but as an ambassador who is like representing the as a champion. So like I was really, really grateful to the Youth Collab and UNDP and National Incubation Center, Islamabad, Demo Enterprises, and all these partners who made this event happen. Like that was like, kind of a dream come true moment for you. So like, that Cinderella found the final prince. So that kind of happiness that, there's this one thing you have been working for so long, and finally you just get it. I don't know how to like put that happiness in words. It was like beyond something. And like when I finally went out to this Vietnam, and then we met you. You could see that I was like so damn excited about it. So yeah, that was about it. And since then there was like no turning back. Like after Vietnam, when I came back, I got this USIP grant. It was like $30,000. That was huge thing for us, because previously we had only won like $1,000 or 1,500 or maybe $2,500. And that was like a very micro grant. But this was this one big grant, and it was such daunting thing for me because they gave us only 100 days. And for the first, I think so, 25 or 30 days, we had zero money. They said that we need to use our own funds to like do all the activities. And it was really taxing for us because, when you are organizing events, you need to pay upfront, and it's really hard to manage so much cash. You don't have enough running cash at that time. But then again, we managed, and it was like a really great experience. And out of that, I had this opportunity to go to Thailand, and then we met in Bangkok and the UN headquarters, and then we shared a lot of experiences. And after that, I was given this opportunity by the Youth Collab to represent my platform in the two conferences that were held in China. One was in Guangzhou, and the other was in Shenzhen. And then one of the most important thing, or most beautiful thing that happened in Youth Collab was like meeting all you guys, and especially Zahin, who has always been there. And whenever I run into any trouble, she's the first person I drop a message or an email or a call. And she has been like really helpful for me because I remember I'm really passionate about what I do, but the only setback, or the only reason I was not able to scale or excel, was because I couldn't find that direction. And I remember that when I had these mentoring sessions with Zahin, she stopped me when I was like speaking in a flow like I'm doing right now. She was like, Omar, hang on, just stop. You need to slow down, and you need to think, and you need to focus. So then she asked me a couple of questions. And that's when I realized that I'm doing a lot of operational stuff, and I don't have objectives. And that was the thing that she forced me to do. She said that go and study this framework called the OKR model. That's objective, key resolutions, and all those things. So key results, sorry. So that I started studying it, and then I found certain platforms. And then she told me that whatever I have in my mind, I need to put all of that thing in this framework, because if I'm not doing it, I'm just running around, and nothing would come out of it. And when I started implementing that, the very first month, sorry, I got a lot of good results. And that was when my team started taking me really seriously, because now we knew that what we wanted to do. Like previously, we would just wait for some project to come in, then we would work like crazy. And once the project is gone, then we are like, okay, now what do we do now? So she made me think that what will you do in this whole year? Break it down in quarters, break it down in months, break it down to each individual department, and then break it down to each individual on a day-wise basis. So I learned that whole framework from her, and then I taught this whole framework to my team, and I may improve their skill set to a point where they were able to train the people which we hired later in our team, who are working under them. Like I told you that once this whole 2019 was closed, I was again back to zero where I started, because I had to hire a new team, because again the grant ran out, and again when the money runs out, so it's really hard to sustain people. And then again, I was foolish enough, I didn't build a proper business model. So in 2020, earlier this year, I made this very bold decision of introducing memberships on our platform, and I put up a price tag on all the services that we are offering, like editing, designing. And then I actually started thinking of it as a proper business. Previously, I was just running around it like an NGO, and that was, I think, because I worked in that sector, so that was the only thing I knew, and it was really hard for me to actually unlearn what I had already learned and then do it all over again. But again, thanks to Zahin, who actually taught me that framework, and that was the turning point for us. And since January 2020 to date, we have been like scaling really, really well. Like most of the companies who were really badly hit in COVID, we were growing in COVID almost 2x every month, and we are still doing pretty well. Now one of our books went viral. We sold like almost 1,500 copies of that title in under 2 months, and that was the point that that big aha moment, the big scaling thing, just a steep thing just before the scaling happened. So that was the main breaking barrier for us. Once that book gone viral, a lot of people who were Pakistanis who were settled abroad, like in US, UK, Canada, they started reaching out to us because they could actually feel the hype there. They were like, "What is this book doing? Why is it coming up on timeline? Why are people posting so much about it?" Because every day someone would like purchase out of 1,500. There are so many sales. Everyone is posting that I got this book from this publisher Daastan. It's so well, and it teaches us this and that. And everyone was like, what's happening down there?" So that's when we started getting a lot of orders. And now we are at a point where like a lot of people are coming to us. So it had been a really really great adventure for me up till now. So yeah, that's it.
It's so interesting because you were telling me in 2019, if I understood the timeline correct, but that, you started to have this scripted show on TV, you started to have like all the hype around Daastan, but it still wasn't enough to consolidate your business model, because I guess every event that happened was not strategic in the sense that it didn't contribute to your overall objective.
Exactly. Because a lot of times we think that this is something cool that we should do. But then when you open that portal and see that is this your objective for this year or not, and that is a litmus test when you say, no, I'm not doing this. Because saying no by a founder is really hard. Because when you're a founder, you are so attached to your cause that you just can't say no to it because you believe, oh, it would end, it would work out in the later run. But you have to be, because you have limited time, so you cannot like just waste it. You need to make sure that every single second counts and it's really worth it. So that was the thing that I learned from Zahid. That was really an interesting thing for me.
And continuing on this question, could you share with us, I mean, you said that your vision is to
put a book in every hand.
Yes, exactly. I was looking for the sentence. Could you elaborate on that? Is that the objective of Daastan, to put a book on every hand?
Yeah. So one of the so I came up. So every year, if you like go and read our old interviews that are published on the web, so every year we would have like a different vision. So at every stage you improve yourself, and then something else comes in, and then you pivot and redesign. So I had been through a lot of phases, and finally, again through these mentoring sessions and all those things, I saw that the vision needs to be big enough. Like it shouldn't be broad. And then I was like reading one of the case studies, this Microsoft the Microsoft case study. I was reading up on it, and in one of the interviews, it was mentioned that the Bill Gates had this idea, that he had this vision for Microsoft, that he will put a desktop computer in every household. And I was fascinated at that time because I was a part of this transformation where there were no computers in any household, and then now everyone has a computer in their household. I had seen that thing happening right in front of my eyes. So I was like, so when I read this case study, I was like so fascinated that I changed the vision. I said that if he can do this thing, then probably I need to improve my goal. And that's when I put this goal that I will, the Daastan vision, that's the final vision that we have finally settled for, that it is going to be that every person who is uh, here in this world, they need to have a book in their hand, and that book would be published by Daastan. Or at least every household should have one book, at least one book that was published through our platform. And when we changed the vision to this thing, then everything started making sense, because now our matrix are number of books published, number of authors registered, and total membership sold, or maybe in terms of revenue, some milestones, some key benchmarks related to revenue. So when you start focusing on these things, which really matter, then everything else becomes secondary. Like, for example, previously we were running around for reviews, we were running around for interviews, we were running around for people to invite us into their events.
Mm.
These are secondary things. If you get it, it's okay, but that is not contributing to the revenue. If you are running a company, you need to make sure that how is the revenue coming in? How will you pay the bills? How will you sustain your team? How will you have enough capital that you can scale or experiment and improve your services or products? So how would that happen? You need to have a research and development fund. You need to build a marketing fund. How will that happen? All of this needs to have strong revenue chains. And if you start focusing on the right matrix, I remember this one workshop. There we learned about the vanity matrix, and these metrics are those metrics like the fancy things. Like, I got featured on media 50 times. This is a vanity matrix. It doesn't contribute if that feature is not bringing you any revenue. It's a vanity matrix. It is not adding any value to your platform. If you have 30,000 followers on your Facebook or 50,000 followers on your Instagram, and if you are not making a single sale, that's a vanity matrix. It's not contributing to your business. So you need to focus on the metrics that really contribute to, that are tied to your revenue chain. So when we started focusing on these metrics, that how many books are we publishing and how many authors do we have, then I started asking the second question to myself. If I have 10,000 authors, how many of them are giving me $1 a month? That is this question for me. That if each of them would have, if they were giving me $1 a month, that would have meant $10,000 a month. That is a very serious revenue, but I'm not making that revenue. I'm still investing my own things. I'm still investing my own savings, and there is something seriously wrong with this business model, and I need to improve it. So that was when I brainstormed that I needed to put up a membership fee, and then I redesigned this whole model. And previously, another frustrating thing for me was that uh, there was no way to track team's progress. Nobody ever taught me before how to do that, and that was like really interesting thing for me as well. And the first time I actually learned how a performance of an employee is managed is when I started working as a freelance content manager for an offshore company that was based in the US. So one of my friends were working there, and he said that we need someone to manage our content. And then I was like, okay, this is my portfolio. You can share it with your boss. And then I had a couple of interviews. He hired me, and the way he managed the remote team from US, this team was like, I think so 20, 30 people here in Pakistan. And the way he was managing it, that was so fascinating for me. And there I learned that this is how it should have been done in my company as well. And then I learned from him that how he was doing it, and then I applied all those key learnings back into my company. And then I incorporated those employee management tools and the productivity tools and team collaboration tools. That's when I realized the importance, because previously, you are getting this Google Drive, you take it for granted. You are like, okay, you can easily store data there, and then you have this emails, and then you have these WhatsApp groups, and then you also have phone calls. But as you scale, all these things become so messy. You really don't know which one is the right version. Like, if a novel is edited by three people, you never know that which one is final is actually the final version. So most of the times the wrong version of final gets printed, and then you get an additional loss because you made the mistake. Author paid you once, then all the profit that was going in, it is actually going in loss. So we made like so much of those blunders. Some of them were mine, some of them were of my teams, but ultimately I have to pay for it. And I couldn't tax my team member for making a small mistake because I am a bad manager. They were doing just their job, they were doing what they were told. So at the end of the day, one of the key lessons that I want to give through this podcast to all the aspiring entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs and all those people who are like thinking of becoming an entrepreneur is that uh, when you are actually the founder, everyone looks up to you. And if there is a crisis, you need to be the one who needs to like put the fire out. Because if you can't do that, if you can't solve the problems, then it's really hard for your team to believe in you. And if your team makes a mistake, you never ever should go to the client and say, hey, it's none of my fault, it's my team's fault, and I'll get that person fired or penalize him. Never ever do that. Always own your team and take the mistake and own it as you like. You need to take stand for your team. You need to protect them, because at the end of the day, they are your family. If you're not protecting them, they would lose confidence in you. They would think that you will abandon them anytime, and then they would start looking for other opportunities. And once that happens, and once the employee loses faith in the manager or the team member or the founder, then the whole company is never going to survive. So if you want to go far, then you need to take hold of your team members with you. So this was like the biggest lesson that I learned. So even though we had to suffer quite a loss because of the wrong version sent for the printing, but I never gave up on my employees, and I'm really glad that they're still here with me, and they are still the finest people, because we are all humans. It's okay if we make mistakes. So they need to be assured that there is enough room for failure, and it's okay if we fail, because they didn't do it intentionally. It was an unintentional thing. So let it be. So that was the thing, like being kind, know when to be kind and know when to be strict. So that's the main key thing that actually like helps you turn around things. So yeah.
You know, I love this conversation. It's like a masterclass on social entrepreneurship. Really, I know. I mean, you spoke about so many things, such as, you know, starting small. You started with Facebook group with 3 people.
Yeah.
You pivoted so many times. You spoke about join an incubation program only if you're ready, just not because it's an incubation program. Spoke about how to manage your team, how to set up a vision, objectives, how to work with your team. Really, for me, this is like I will just force everyone to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
I learned it the hard way.
yeah, you learned it the
The
hard
people
way.
who would be tuning in to listen, they would be learning it the easy way because they have everything sorted out now.
No, but it's what you mentioned, right? You said you was a pioneer going to college, uni. I mean, I guess it's also in general. I mean, I remember a conversation we had. You told me you were. I mean, entrepreneurship ecosystem in Pakistan is quite new, and you told me you were part of the first, you know, entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs of Pakistan. So you have to figure everything out for the next generation.
It's really hard, but it's fun. It was like quite an
It
adventure,
doesn't
I would
sound
say.
fun. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, I just watched your TED Talk called The Story of Storytellers, so everyone have a look. And in the end, you ask a question to everyone and to yourself. Imagine that you are lying on your deathbed and you are looking back at your life. What is one thing that you are really proud of? Do you remember what you said? And could you
Yeah.
elaborate?
Yeah. So for me, it was uh, like when I look back in my life, I wanted to be very, you can say, proud that I did Daastan, that has empowered thousands of people to actually like found a hope that there is someone out there whom they can turn into when they have an idea, and they can publish their work and they can actually make a living out of it. Because when you really want to do something, like I see this every day here in Pakistan, there are so many people, the talented people, they want to do something in their lives, they want to earn a living by through right channels, but unfortunately those channels are not here, the opportunities are not here, and the industry is like not that much mature that they could like absorb that workforce. And it's really hard to see really talented people working and doing menial jobs just to pay their home bills, and it's really hard. So I had this thing that when I'm like looking back at my life, I need to be sure that the thing that I founded has actually changed lives of such people in my country and also the across borders. Because it's when you look at the writers or the storytellers, they're everywhere. and almost everywhere they have the same problem, that they cannot find a platform where they can showcase their work, where their work can be heard, where if they publish, someone actually knows them, someone actually reads their work, reviews their work. So these are the kind of things that are really missing in our industry. And one of the unfortunate things that I often see, like there are news in the media where you see that a taxi driver is running, and a really educated person is running a taxi just to get his books published. And then there's some guy who is a cobbler who is like doing cobbling just to have enough money so he can publish his books. And it's really heartbreaking because, there are so many funds available out there. Even the government has a literature ministry. I wonder what these guys do. They have so much funds. It's their job to actually do what I'm doing right now. And it, yeah, obviously, because, this is what they actually get paid for. This is our taxpayers' money. We pay the taxes to get these facilities. If they're not doing it, then they're not doing their job. So I used to think, like, I still remember in my childhood, I used to have this monologue with myself that what should I do in my life? Like, the kind of moment that you have to yourself and that kind of thing. So I was like, I used to look at the news and the media and all that, and I was like, these guys, they know these are doing these corruptions and all those cases against them. Why aren't they doing anything? And I remember there's this one of my principal in my school. Her name was Miss Munira Qureshi. Uh, she was like one of my ideal, and she told me that, like, in the school there is this assembly, and at the end of the assembly, usually the principal or some head or any teacher comes in and say some good words or give some moral lessons kind of thingy. So I remember when I was like in the school, so she once told me uh, that you are all my Shaheens, like the leaders or the people who would actually change the world. And she told us that there is no Salahuddin Ayyubi or any other Muslim hero who is going to come and save you or help you regain your lost glory or help you fix your problems. It's you. You are the ones who are going to do that. So that was like really emotional thing for me because I had been like reading so many books and I had this kind of very close heart to heart affinity with these Muslim conquerors and all those heroes and leaders. So I was like, so when my someone whom I idolized and she looks into your eyes and then she says that you are my hero and it is your job to fix it. So I had this thing in me that maybe if I ever had a chance, so I would do something about it. So I think that was the main thing that actually inspired me, and I had been like whenever I'm like feeling really low, so I go back into memory lane and I relive that moment where she's standing right in front of me in the assembly and she's saying that you are my hero and then you need to do this. I'm entrusting you, like I have done my part, I have educated you, I have gave you whatever I could. Now it's your job to carry this message and this inspiration to not only in Pakistan and outside as well, that you need to do something about it. So these were like the kind of things that I want to be seeing when I am on my deathbed. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really want to tell you that I mean, I think I can really feel that you did a lot of self-reflection work on yourself. I mean, it's so clear how you can, I don't know, how you identify all these people who helped you along the way. When you mention the national poet, this principal, this teacher who yelled at you, this friend who couldn't get published, like I don't know, you Zahin, like all these people. It's great that you don't forget them.
Yeah, because you can't do anything. Like Dinlong, wherever we are, at the end of the day, it's never about us. It's about the people who built us. Because I come from a teaching family background, and I have this very close affiliation towards the teachers and the educators and the reformers. Because what they are doing right now towards the society, people usually consider it or take it as granted. They really do not acknowledge it. They think that if we are paying fee to a certain institute and that's their entitlement, then they don't owe anything to them. But for me, who is coming from a literary family background, I can truly relate to it. Like, if no one ever taught me how to read or how to write, probably I couldn't even speak to you right now.
Mm.
I would have been just another boy who is just roaming out in streets and doing nothing and wasting his life. That's what most of the people are doing. So I'm really grateful to all those people who made a difference in my life and who helped me become who I am today. And I could never forget them.
So that's another masterclass on self-reflection. No, 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 yeah, and it's great that you speak about them, obviously. So yeah, no, I wanted to come back a bit on Pakistan. On so yeah, I I remember when we had this cultural night in Bangkok during
Yeah.
PYE, you had with another Pakistani guy, you had to do you had a table to introduce Pakistan. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, and also in China, you gave me a scarf. In Vietnam, you had a lot of gifts as well. So I wanted to ask you, how do you prepare yourself before each international trip to represent Pakistan?
Yeah. So, in Pakistan, we have this. I don't know how it happens in other countries, but we have this thing as cultural thing that whenever we go to visit anyone, we always take gifts with us. It's like kind of in our religion as well that we need to give gifts to each other. It helps you bond well with people. So it's kind of a cultural thing for at least me or my family. We always do that. So whenever I go or I'm about to go, I always make sure that I have like at least a dozen gifts with me because you never know like if you ever come to Pakistan or like if any Pakistani visits you. So for example, it happens like when our relatives who are living in US, UK or Canada, when they come to visit Pakistan, it is like a cultural norm that they need to bring gifts for every single person who are based in Pakistan, like a immediate family member. So they have to do that. Otherwise, people mind it that you came from abroad and you didn't brought us any gifts. So it's kind of a cultural thing for us. So I think that's how it got inculcated in me as well. Like, so whenever I'm about to go to any particular like an event or especially for an international trip, so I make sure that I have one bag that is full of gifts. And the kind of gifts that I usually choose is uh, so I leave that usually on my mom. So I tell him that I'm going and I need something like fancy, and you also need to get me something for girls, and you also need to get me something for boys, and then something a gender neutral kind of thingy. So the most go-to thing for me is the kind of shawl. So which I gave you one, and you might have seen me that during the whole international events, I always have that shawl on
Hmm.
because I love to represent my culture in international countries. That's like one way of that's the one way I'm able to do that. So so that's the one thing. And what I usually opt for is like in Pakistan, there it's really diverse culture. So if you move from one province to another province, there are a lot of dialects in terms of languages. And as you move to a different region, each region has their own dress code or a cultural dress and a cultural language and the way and the kind of food that they eat. So it's really different. So I so the kind of gifts that I brought you guys were the most famous ones from our country. It's usually the all of the things that I bought were like handmade things,
Hmm.
the shawls and the bags and all the other kind of small gifts that I bought along with me. So so I make sure that whatever thing that I can get on, because I try to focus on this thing that I need to have more number of items in less number of space. So the ideal way to go about it is small gifts, portable gifts, kind of gifts that go everywhere. That can be good. So that can be done easily. So one reason, like I gave you that shawl because I always see you that you have this stall around you and you have a certain t-shirt that you wear all the time, and I really love that color. That's kind of an energy. Like you can actually spot Dinlong from an entire crowd if you are standing outside. So even though I remember, I think so when we met in that Shenzhen event, it was what was that Unleash conference. So out of that entire thousand lot, I had this one friend with me. She was like, "How the hell did you find that guy?" I was like, "I know how to find him. It's that shirt. You just bought that shirt."
So,
So that was and she was really impressed with me. So I remember that we had the spot on the top, and like we were really fortunate that we got the really topmost slot. So when all the event was happening downstairs, so I was telling her that that girl, we will meet her after when the break comes. And she was like, "Are you insane? How would you know that after this whole thing ends, then you would be able to find that guy or girl?" So then I actually took her to when we had that session where I met you. So I also met other people as well. She was like so insane. She was like, "How do you find people, Omar? How could you do that out of such crowd?" So I was like, "No, I have a very strong side. I can spot people."
funny.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, so you have pressure to buy a lot of gifts when you go to a country, and then pressure to buy a lot of gifts for your family when you come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm glad to know that the scarf was even tailored for me. I mean, was after you analyze my style. I'm super glad to hear that.
Yeah. And I still have the one that you gave me, and I often wear it here in Pakistan as well.
Nice.
And when people ask me that where did you get it from, then I tell them I went to this place where I had this friend called Inlong, and this is his gift to me.
Nice. And so I just realized it's very late for you, so I'll just ask you my last two questions, and then you told me just before we start that usually it's your time to play strategy games. So thank you so much for sacrificing this time and speak with me. So yeah, no, I just wanted to ask you how. It's a question I ask every time when I end a conversation. Is how would you describe yourself in 3 hashtags?
Hashtags. Okay, one is probably the storyteller. The second would probably community builder, and the third one would be yum, yum, yum. Visionary, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, storyteller, community builder, visionary, and yeah, why should people go to Pakistan?
Yeah, people should come to Pakistan, one, because it has a lot of diverse cultures. And if you really are a traveler and you feel like you need to have a real or a fresh insight to a very hospitable country, then possibly Pakistan is really go-to place. Second, we have not only mountains for you, we have deserts, we have rivers, and then we also have a really hustling street life where you can taste a lot of good food and meet a lot of amazing people. And lastly, I would say that you need to visit Pakistan because now it's more like you may say, a hub of storytellers. Uh, if you come here, there is this very interesting thing called Kawali. You would really love it if you come and see it. There's Kathak dance that's really famous here. Similarly, if you go in the northern side, you will find a lot of interesting performance art thing. So if you really love to explore a different kind of tourism where you actually can connect with a lot of people, then I think probably Pakistan is the go-to place for you.
And people can all reach out to you to have a free guide.
I can recommend you a lot of good stuff because I'm like in this community and I know a lot of good people who travel, like especially I know this one guy, Saad Munawar. He is like a world record holder on trekking. So he trekked
Oh.
3 mountain ranges in less than 30 days on foot. So he had the world record for it. So he is really well acquainted with all the mountaineering and adventuring and travel community. So I can connect you with him. He can set up really interesting, personalized, guided trips for you. You will really love it. So I personally went to one trip with him in Skardu. It was almost a 1 week long trip. We went as far to the last village of Pakistan that is right next to K2. That's the Killer Mountain. So when you trek down from K2, the first village that you visit is Hoshe. I went that far off in terms of tourism with him, and that was really a great adventure. So I would highly recommend that everyone should come and especially go to these mountaineering areas of Pakistan. It's really interesting way to live an adventurous life because Pakistan is like the home of the tallest mountains. Most of the mountains in the world, they are like, I think, less than 8,000 feet. So here we have the world's tallest mountains. And if you're really, really an adventurer, it's really the go-to place to be. And if you want kind of like a soft adventure or you just want to have sightseeing, there's a lot of interesting things, even in plains and even in like valleys where you can have good time. And if you're like kind of a young person who is really into exploring the kind of street life, we don't have that kind of street life that you have in Bangkok, but it's a very different street life. Like we don't have the bars and clubs and all that thing here in Pakistan, probably because it's like an Islamic country. But like overall, you can see a very hustling culture here. A lot of performance art, as I said. A lot of people I know they run theaters and they have this really cool art performances. So I can definitely hook you up with them. So a highly recommended place for you. And again, and one last thing, we also have our seashore. So if you really, really want to go in the seaside, we also have that for you. So there is no reason you shouldn't come to Pakistan. You should come to Pakistan.
Yeah, so everything, so you can do pretty much everything in Pakistan except go to bars, but this is okay. You can do everything: mountains, seashore, street life, art. So people will understand that I was not lying when I was telling that you were the best ambassador of Pakistan. Um, so yeah, no, where, just to end, where can people find you if they want to contact you?
I'm easily reachable on LinkedIn and also on Facebook, or you can simply drop me an email at my email ID. It's omer.a@daastan, dastan.com.
All right.
I'm easily accessible on almost all the social media platforms.
All right. So yeah, Omer is everywhere. Watch his TED Talk. And yeah, we'll put most of what we talked about in the notes of the episode. And yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you so much, Omer. I really, really love this episode. I mean, really, it was, I think, yeah, like so intense conversation. I was excited to learn more about your childhood and all your struggles
Yeah,
that actually I didn't know, so, so glad
yeah.
you shared
So this
with
is like a hidden part of my life. You really don't see that on the mainstream media.
yeah.
On mainstream media, we just have the highlights. Oh, we won this, and then we did that, and then that. Oh, that's a great killer story. But they never know this part of the. So this was more like a heart-to-heart discussion.
The full story.
Yeah, the full story, the full version. You need to listen to the whole podcast to know what actually happens behind the scenes.
Cool. Thank you so much, Omer, and hope to see you in Pakistan.
Sure, sure. Looking forward to host you.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode of Omer. Feel free to reach out to him for anything related to Pakistan and also to tell him that his episode was amazing. Of course, please do share this episode with your friends who are curious about Pakistan, who are curious about the journey of a social entrepreneur, so we can share the wisdom of Omer to as many people as possible. And do subscribe to Lifeline Podcast on any platform that you are using. It's really what helps me the most to grow the audience of Lifeline and to make sure that the voices of all the changemakers that I'm interviewing can be amplified and be heard to as many people as possible.